we're going to talk about data handling. All right, we're going to talk about data types tonight, but we first need to get an idea of the data cycle. Okay, and I'm sure you've seen this. You might have seen it in class already. Okay, and if not, I want to briefly talk about this because I don't know if you guys are noticing this. I'm sure you do because your generation, we're a bit old now, but your generation should be quite clued up with all this. So they say that data is, just as important these days as gold or oil or anything like that. All right. Um, and if you can get into a field with data like data science, data handling, those kinds of fields where you collect and work with data, it's actually a very lucrative job, especially in today's world. These big corporations like Google and Microsoft and Apple and other big organizations are always trying to collect as much data about you as possible. All right, you guys know this. You're on your phones a lot. You can see it happening. So there's always big corporations trying to get as much information and data about us as possible. So data is the latest currency. It's extremely useful, extremely powerful to have data. So we need to understand how to work with it. Okay, just like we might need to understand how do we work with a valuable resource. We need to learn how to work with data. So this section, it's actually quite a fun section in math literacy, and it's also very important as well. All right, so hopefully you guys will get into this kind of job in the future. I hope so, because it can pay pretty well and it's becoming more and more popular. The world needs more data scientists, right? People that work with data. So let's see what this is all about, okay? So we have a data cycle here, which is a cycle that is used all the time by corporations and organizations, and even just people who are inventors or business owners, okay? So let's say you have a question, right? Something that you've thought about that you're very interested in. Okay. Now, usually we consume information, we consume data. We're very good at that. But let's say you have a question that you've thought about and you really wanted to find out more about. Well, the data cycle can help you with that. So first things is you come up with a question. Like for me, I want to know, because I'm a big fan of rugby, I want to know, for example, what is the average height of all the players in a professional rugby team that go to the World Cup? I want to know, is height an important factor in a rugby team? So if all the teams go to the World Cup this year, I want to know what is the average height of the best teams in the world? Are they the tallest players, or do you not have to be tall to win a Rugby World Cup? So that's a question that I have. Is being tall in rugby important? Okay, so that's my question. The next thing you got to do in the next step in the data cycle, which is number 2, is to start thinking about how are we going to get this data? Okay, we're going to talk about that tonight. And we're also going to go into a little bit into number 3, which is collecting the data. All right, we're going to talk about how we can do that. But we're mostly going to deal with the first 3 of this data cycle. All right, so this one here, and this one here. Okay. And then on Thursday, we are going to start looking at analysis and analyzing. And then on the last week, the second week of the course, we're going to look at interpretation. But tonight, we're going to look at the first 3 and familiarize ourselves with different types of data. Okay. Hold on a second. I'll be with you in a moment. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's have a look. All right, I've got a question. How big are the Springbok rugby players? And now I'm going to think, what should I do with that information? All right, and you might have different questions. You might have different thoughts and different questions that you want to analyze. For example, here's another one that we're going to look at a lot. You're going to see the word TikTok a lot tonight because I know, well, I think I know, that you guys like to look at TikTok. All right. That's what I think. I don't know. This apparently TikTok is all the rage at the moment. So these could be questions. All right. So you could ask a question like, do boys use TikTok more than girls do in your school? Right? That could be a question that needs to be investigated. Or, for example, what is the most popular color for newly bought cars? Have you ever thought about that? I mean, if you're a car company, this would be actually very important information. Or what is, like, here's my one here. What is the average height of a Springbok rugby player? Okay. So these are all questions that I have, and I want to do further research on that. So the first thing to do is to develop a topic or develop a question that you're going to do some research on. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is figure out how to ask a question based on your idea or your topic. Okay. And your question is going to help you bring that data in. And how you ask that question is very, very, very important. It's actually one of the most important things. So how do you ask the question to get the data you need? All right. For example, if we go up to the top question over here, do boys use TikTok more than girls do in my school? Who are we going to ask this question to? Are we going to post it to everyone? Obviously, you need to post it to everyone to compare. Are we going to say, do you use TikTok? Simple as that. Are we going to be more specific? Because if we just say, do you use TikTok? And we say that most of the girls answered yes, does that mean that more girls use TikTok in the school? Maybe those girls don't use it as much, and there's a few boys that use it, but they use it a lot. All right, so it all depends on your question and how you ask that question, who you're aiming it to, and what kind of information do you want to get from that question. All right, and there are different types of questions and different ways of asking it. All right, so here we have a couple of different types of questions that are often used to collect information. Okay, number one, we have a yes/no response question. So this could be, do you use TikTok? And then you can even give the option, yes, in a block like that, or no, in a block like that. And you could say, put a X in the block for the answer that you want. All right, a real easy question and a real easy way to get information. And then you just count all the yeses in your answers. So that can be a way to do it. A yes or no question, especially if it's a simple question like, do you use something? Then we're going to get multiple choice. All right. For example, in this investigation with TikTok, we could say, which of the following apps do you use? All right. And then you can have options. TikTok, cheap, I don't know what, YouTube, Twitter. All right. So these could all be options. And then the person that's answering this can select which one they prefer. And not only will you get information about if people use TikTok, but you can get information about a whole lot of other apps as well. So maybe you want to do that. Maybe you don't just want to find out about TikTok, but you want to find out about other apps at the same time. So then this question here would be more useful to you, a multiple choice question. Right, especially if you're comparing different things. If you have two or more things you're trying to compare, then a multiple choice question is the better option. All right. Now, the next question is a ratings question. All right. So let's say you asked a sensitive question where people didn't really want to answer yes or no for TikTok or not. You could then ask a question like, do you think TikTok is a functional app? Do you think it saves you time? Do you think it makes you happy? All right. And then give them a rating of 1 all the way up to 10. And 10 is, I think TikTok is a functional app, or 1, I think TikTok is a non-functional app. And then they will choose a number between 1 and 10. And this way you get an idea of more information about how people are feeling about this. And so it's just not just yes or no. It could be maybe something in between. All right. So you get a much better idea of if people are 100% behind it or just a little bit behind it. Okay. And that might be useful. So this could be if you want to introduce something that's quite sensitive and you will get a feeling what people's idea is towards something, then you could use a rating question. All right, so that's a rating question where you rate something, for example, from 1 to 10 or 1 to 5. Or you could say, no, not at all, maybe a little, not interested, neutral, up all the way up to yes in favor of the app. Okay, so that's a ratings question. Then you get open-ended questions, which is the 4th one here. An open-ended question could be, how do you feel? The keyword there being feel about using the TikTok app. Write a sentence. So now the person can say whatever they feel. All right. You could say, how do you feel about using any apps on your phone? Or how do you feel about your phone, using apps on or working with your phone? This opens the doors up to a lot of different answers. And in this way, you're not just focusing on something specific, but you're getting a general idea of how people feel about something. All right. You're getting their personal views with an open-ended question. All right. The answer could be all kinds of different things. There's a lot of variation in the answer. You're not trying to pinpoint something specific. Okay, so that's an open-ended question where usually it's a person writes a sentence about how they feel about something. All right, their opinion on something. Okay, so not given a choice where they have to focus on 1 or 2 choices. They get to discuss how they feel. All right, so that's an open-ended question. And then we get to the last one here, which is a closed-ended question. And this is where you really are restricting the person to a very limited answer. You could say, if you use TikTok, tick the box. All right. If you use TikTok, tick the box. So all the person can do is put a tick. They can't even say yes or no or 1 to 10. There's no variation in their answer. It's very close, and all they can do is tick that box if they even use or have used or know what TikTok is. All right. So that's very close-ended, that question. No variation. You can't really say words. You can't give your opinion. You can't give a rating. You don't have options. It's very, very close-ended. Right. Not much you can, no variation in your input of the answer here. All right. So I hope you have an idea of the different types of questions that you can have. And it's important to know which one is best for the investigation or the research that you are doing. All right. So we're going to practice this a little bit. I have got some questions here, and you guys are going to tell me what type of questions they are. All right. Now I'm going to bring my questions down so you guys can see them. Let's just move this up a bit and bring my questions down so that you guys can see them. So I'll put it up here for the first time. There they are. They're the options. So question number 1 in chat. Here is the question. What color car would you buy if you could buy a new car? And there are options: red, blue, white, green, and black. All right, let's hear chat. What type of question is this? If you had to classify this question. Now it's your time to shine. All right, Tian wants to let us know. Tian, you should. Yeah, Tian, you there?
Yes, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Which one do you think it is?
It's a multiple choice question.
Very good. Let's see in chat. Yes, all answers are coming through. Multiple choice. Very good. Well done, Tian. Well done. Thank you, Tian. Thanks for that.
No problem.
All right, multiple choice. Let me write it in there. All right, question number 2. What is your favorite meal? What is your favorite meal? What is your favorite meal? Okay, now I hope you guys aren't looking at chat for the answers and just retyping. I hope you've got your own mind made up. What is your favorite meal? Looks like we're getting a lot of answers for open-ended here, which is correct because there could be hundreds of different types of meals here. Okay, so there are many, 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 many options here. We're not limiting any options. This is quite open-ended. Okay, so what is your favorite meal? A lot of options. So we're going to say this is open-ended. Okay, next one, number 3. Do you have the TikTok app on your smartphone? Yes, no. That's an easy yes, no response. Very good. Very good. So that's a yes, no response. That's an easy one. All right, next one. Let me bring my, whoopsie. Let me bring my questions down for you guys. All right, we're on number 4. I'm going to paste it. Let me delete all this. And I'm going to put it there. All right, so there are my questions. Those are the options. And I want to put a space down here. All right, there we go. Do you think TikTok usage should be reduced to 1 hour per day or 2 hours per day? Do you think TikTok usage should be reduced to 1 hour per day or 2 hours per day? All right, very good. Very good. Okay, we're not giving many options here. All right, what if someone wants to say 3? What if someone says, I don't actually use TikTok? What if someone wants to say 7? You're not giving many options here. So you really are making it a very close-ended question. All right, good job. Okay, so this will be close-ended. All right, and then at the bottom there, on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being not at all and 10 being a lot, how much do you enjoy using the TikTok app? All right, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you enjoy using the TikTok app? Rating questions. Very good. Okay. All right. Now, what we're going to do is a little experiment to see how quickly we can get an idea just by asking a question as simple as that. I'm going to ask you, class, if you don't use TikTok, don't worry about it. But on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all and 10 being a lot, how much do you enjoy using the TikTok app? All right, let's see some numbers from 1 to 10 being 1 not at all, 10 being a lot. 10, 6, 7, 6, 8, 9, 6, 9, 4, 5, 5, 9, 10, 99. You're 10, 8, 10 plus. You're 5, 7, 3, 10. Okay. So we're getting a whole lot of data just from this quick question in a couple of seconds. All right. So just from this group over here, we're getting some incredible data here just by asking this question. All right. Now, because I waste too much time on the app, really, I love the honesty. I appreciate your honesty. And we could collect all this information, tens and sevens and sixes and fives and fours, and that will give us a good idea if we wrote them all out in a list. But then we would need to do some analysis on that, right? And that's going to come in Thursday, and next week we could take all this information that we've got and then start doing analyses on it. All right. So to get an idea of this sample of people, you guys, this sample of people, if they represent general learners out there in school, what is the average feeling or sentiment towards TikTok? All right, so we could do a little experiment like this. Let's see if we can do that next week. We'll see if we can. But it's very, very interesting to collect data like this and to analyze it. All right, let's move on. So these are all the different types of questions. I'm going to quickly press undo here. And I'll write that back in, and then I'm going to show you them all together and see all the answers, and you can take a screenshot if you want. So we said this one here was close-ended. And we said the last one, number 5, was rating. Okay, so those are all the 5 types of questions that we can get. And each one has its strengths and its weaknesses. All right, let's move on. We're finally going to get to data types. And you might think this is not really that interesting or that important, but actually it is. It's very, very important. And I'll explain why in a moment. So these are the data types that we can collect. Now, you guys need to help me here because I'm sure you know what we're talking about here. There are 2 main categories of data types. Molloy, you have a question. There we go. You should see a little prompt on your screen to unmute, Molloy. If you have a question there on your screen, it'll say unmute. And then you can ask your question. All right, maybe it was just a mistake there. All right, well, maybe if you can type it into chat just now. So there are 2 major data types. We have numerical and categorical. Do you guys know any other names for these 2 types of data? Numerical and categorical? Are there any other words that you know? Malloy, there we go, he's back again. All right, Malloy, you should see a little prompt. There we go. Malloy, you there?
Hello, sir.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, and you, sir?
I'm good.
Sir, I'm asking if in the exam, are
Yeah.
they gonna ask question like this?
They might do, especially if you're getting a test on data handling itself. They could test you on it in a data handling test, maybe a control test at the end of the term, maybe in a June exam. They don't often put this in a matric exam. They might give you all 5 types of questions and then maybe ask you to match one up. But I don't think you're going to have to memorize them and recall them like you do for a subject like geography or anything else like that. So don't worry that you have to try and remember all 5 and they're going to ask you a question and then you got to write down one of the 5. If they give it to you, they should give you the 5 and then say, here is a question. Which one do you think it is? Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right. All right. Does anyone know in chat what are the other words they often use for numerical and categorical data? There's 2 other words that they often put there. They both start with a Q. I'll give you a clue. They both start with a Q for numerical and categorical data. Blank, that doesn't start with a Q, Chiamo. It starts with a B. All right, I'll give you the first one, and then I'm sure you guys are going to give me the second one. Oh, questionable. All right, that does start with Q's. Yes, guys, it does start with a Q. Question there. Okay, yes, you guys are thinking. Good. I'll give you the first one, and then you could probably give me the second one. Here we go. So the first one, another word for numerical data is quantitative. All right. Quantitative. All right. Quantity. You know the word quantity, how much or how many, the quantity, quantitative. All right. That's a way to describe numerical data, quantitative data. So the quantitative data talks about how many or how much with numbers. Ah, there we go. There we go. And Sinako's got the other. Ah, very good. So I knew if I gave you the first one, you'd give me the second one. The second one is quality, qualitative. All right. So just think of the word quantity, quantitative, and quality, qualitative. All right. So qualitative, or that type of data talks about the quality of something. Is it of good quality? Is it bad quality? Think about that. And quantity is how many or how much, right? So that goes with numbers. So quality uses words, and quantity uses numbers to describe things. All right, very good. Okay, so we qualitative data. If I go back up to our question, right? So I'm going to scroll up for now. If I go back up to the questions that are posed, come on, come on, come on. There we go. All right, here we go. Let's look at this question here. What is the most popular color for newly bought cars? Will this give me quantitative, qualitative, or let's rather use easy words, numerical or categorical? All right. What is the most popular color for newly bought cars? What kind of data will that give me? Categorical. Very good. Well done, Sakile. Categorical. Very good. So this will give me categorical. And I'll put you in brackets. That's qualitative. Qualitative data. So that's not numbers, that's words like blue, yellow, green, big, small, fast, slow, new, old. Those are all words to describe something. Words. Okay, I'll write you in green or blue, sorry, words. And then the one underneath, what is the average height of a Springbok rugby player? Which one is that? The average height of a Springbok rugby player. What kind of data will I be getting if I ask that question? Numerical. Very good. So this will be numerical. Or another word we can use is quantitative. And we can also say a nice easy way to think of this is numbers. All right, so those are the two types of data. Very good, guys. Yes, you're on the money. These are the two types of data, basic data types we get. Okay. All right. Then we need to now look at numerical data a little bit more because most of the time we want to get numerical data. Numerical data can be split up into discrete or continuous. Now, I need your help for this. Who out there can raise their hand and speak to me with their microphone and explain to me what's the difference between discrete and continuous? Does anyone know? You brave souls out there. Anybody? Olebocheng. All right, Olebocheng.
Hello,
Hey, how are you?
good and you?
Good. Can you tell me the difference? Explain the difference to me.
So, continuous data is like okay, like in the values increases. And then discrete data, for example, okay, it's like it decreases for the amount of people. Okay, like the more people, the less Yo, I think I'm confusing myself now.
Yeah, you know what I think you're talking about? Because in fact, if I remember correctly, you were there when we did the relationship, the numbers and patterns in relationship course.
Yes.
And yes, I remember now. And you were talking, you even helped me with this, the graph, where the graph was a straight line straight line relationship and went up like that, or the graph went down like that.
Yes.
Yes, I remember now, Oliver King. Yes, so you either talking about a linear relationship or an inverse relationship. And I remember you helping me with this question.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's the one. Excellent. All right, Oliver King, thanks for that. I remember that now. So you were mentioning the relationships. Yes. There was someone else here. Brenda. Brenda, you should see a little pop up on your screen there to unmute. And then we'll go to Abigail afterwards. Brenda, have a look there on your screen. You should see a little pop-up to unmute and just press the pop-up there and you should be able to unmute. Otherwise, we can ask Abigail. Abigail, have a look there. There's Brenda again. All right. Yes, Brenda.
Hello.
Brenda. Hey, Brenda, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Brenda, can you tell me the difference between discrete data and continuous data?
Discrete data represents the count, and
Yeah.
continuous data represents the measurable amount.
Very good. Very good. All right. I'm going to tell you what Brenda said now. Discrete data represents data that where you're counting. Okay. So I'll write the word here, counting. And when we count, we use numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to come back to those type of numbers now. And then continuous data is when we use numbers where we can measure. All right. I'm going to come back to this now. So, for example, when we count, we use numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4. But when we count, we don't really use numbers like 1.357, 2.938. You can, if you really wanted to zoom into a number line, you could count with decimals. But when we count, like for example, if you're counting cows, okay, you don't say 1, 1.2, 1.75, 1.8. You talk about whole numbers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's what that's what Brenda's mentioning, counting. All right, because when you count, you always use whole numbers. In fact, oopsie, I'm going to write there in red. Natural numbers, not whole numbers, natural numbers, because whole numbers, in fact, we can have a 0. So let's write whole numbers. Whole numbers. What is another word for whole numbers? We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who can remember? You can also get minuses. -1, -2, -3. Those aren't whole numbers, but what are those? When you're going to minuses, like 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, we don't call those whole numbers. We call those, starts with an I. I'll give you a clue. Integers. Yeah, well, there we go. All right, so integers. So when you're working with integers or whole numbers and you're counting, that's discrete data. So think about counting cows or counting sheep. You only use whole numbers or integers. All right. By the way, you can have -3 sheep. If you owe someone a sheep, you could have -3 sheep. All right. And then continuous data, Brenda said measure. If you want to measure the height of a Springbok rugby player, you don't say, oh, this guy is 1 and the next guy is 2. There's information in between, isn't there? There are decimals. Use decimals when you measure. So continuous data is when you measure and it includes decimals. All right. So those are the two differences between discrete data and continuous data. One is counting with whole numbers and integers, and the other is very good. Yes. Yes. Fantastic answers. Yes. Very good, Sakile. Good job. And continuous is measuring. Like measuring how far you ran, 5.28 kilometers, measuring how long it takes to run a race, 3 hours, 33 minutes, 42 seconds. Okay, so continuous data is when you measure things, and you get decimal numbers, and discrete data is when you're counting. All right, how many children use TikTok in your class? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll be discrete data. How long they use TikTok for? An hour, 1.72 hours every day on average. That's continuous data. Okay, so I hope you can tell the difference between the two. So numerical data has two categories that we often talk about, discrete and continuous. All right, now let me test you. I need you to classify these 10 types of data. All right, are you ready? Here we go. Vehicle model, the model of a vehicle, the type of car. The type of car. What type of data is that? Now remember, we've got the whole diagram to work with here. All right, it's either going to be categorical, all right, or qualitative. It's going to be continuous, or it's going to be discrete. Those are three options you have. So vehicle model, what is that? Categorical. Very good. Categorical. And someone asked me before if these questions come up in tests. This question often does come up in tests and exams. All right, number 2, age. What is age, everybody? Age. What type of data will age give you? Someone asks you your age, what do you say? It is numerical, but which type of numerical, guys? You've got to be specific now. Which type of numerical? Malloy? All right, Malloy raised a hand and wants to ask something quickly. Malloy, just check your screen there. You should see an option. While we're waiting for Malloy, we've got answers coming in. There we go. Now people are being specific. Numerical discrete. I like that. All right, good. Discrete, 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 discrete. Very good. Okay, so age is numerical and specifically it's discrete. Okay, I'm going to put some spaces in here. And then I'm going to write this word down so we can see. Okay. All right, height of a rugby player. Height of a rugby player. Continuous. There we go. Good. Numerical continuous. Well done, Timna. All right. Continuous, which is numerical. All right, next one. Number of children in a class. Number of children in a class. Number of children in a class. Discrete. Yes, it's discrete. Numerical, yes. Discrete. Yes, well done. Good job. Well done, you guys are doing well. Discrete. Next one. The volume of water in a cup. Volume of water in a cup. Volume of water in a cup. All right, we've got a lot of answers popping up now. Good job. Well done. Because you can measure the water in a cup, the volume of water in a cup, because you can measure it and you can get decimal places when you measure, like 1.75 liters or 0.72 liters in the cup. That has to be continuous. All right. When they ask you your name, what kind of data will you give? When they ask you, Lucky, because when you are trying to find out the height of a Springbok rugby player, because you can measure the height And usually the units that you're going to use to measure height is in meters. And you're measuring, you're going to get 1.34 for Faf, who's a scrum half. And then you're going to get 1.98 for Ibn Etzebeth, who's a lock, is one of the tallest players in the field. Because you can measure and you get decimal numbers like 1.72 meters, 1.35 meters tall. And because you can measure and you get decimal numbers as an answer, it's continuous. Okay. All right. The name. Some people saying discrete there. Name is categorical. Got a question. Is it possible today to have two types? If you're classifying data, you can't be on two branches, eh? So you either one or the other here. So if you look at the diagram above, it's a good question. If you look at the diagram above, you can only end up in one of those places. You can't be a combination of the two. So you're either numerical or categorical. That's a definite split between the two. Discrete and continuous, some people will argue discrete and continuous, but in the exam, there will be no gray area. It will be one or the other. Okay, so don't have to worry too much about it, but it's an interesting question. Can you be two? I think there will be arguments. People will get into a discussion and say, actually, discrete could be continuous. For example, what's your age? 16 years old. But 16 years and how many days and how many seconds? That could be shown in decimals. So it depends on the way you look at it. But in the exam, it will be black and white. There will be no gray area when they ask you the question. Kwesi, sure, that's a good question. I'm not sure. It depends on what school you're in. It depends on what school you're in. All right. Chiamo, categorical because you're going to get a word. All right. So for a name, you're going to get a word answer, not a number. All right. I'm going to go back up to. Hold on. I spelled that wrong. I'll go back up to the diagram. So at the beginning, we split up into numbers and words, and then numbers goes further into discrete and continuous. So the first question you have to ask, is it a number or a word? If it's a word, it's definitely categorical. Okay. All right. Area of a playground at school. If you had to try to find the area of a playground at your school, what will that be? Very good. Excellent. I thought I could trick you guys with this one, but definitely not. All right. It is numerical, Sakile. So yes, it is numerical, but which one? Numerical has two options, discrete or continuous. And if it's area, you can measure it. You're going to use meters squared as units. You could get a decimal. So it must be, like you're all saying, very good. Continuous. Very good. Second to last one. Oh, we already had name. My apologies. All right, then we're on the last one here. Number 9. Let's make this 9. Number of days worked. Oh, sorry. We haven't covered number 8. Distance covered during a race, guys. Sorry, I'm confusing you. Distance covered during a race. Distance covered during a race. Distance covered during a race. Some people saying discrete and some people saying continuous. Yes, Kwesi, definitely numerical. Discrete, continuous. You see, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. It definitely is numerical, yes, but is it discrete or continuous? All right. Would someone like to raise their hand and unmute and tell me why they say discrete or why they say continuous? Who would like to tell me? Who would like to explain their answer? Anybody? Like to raise your hand and unmute so they can hear and you can explain your answer? The table? The table, you there?
Hi sir.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good and how are you?
Good, thank you. Distance covered in a race. Which one do you think it is? Discrete or continuous?
So I am saying continuous because you can actually measure the distance during
can.
a race.
Good. All right. Now, those people that are saying discrete, who would like to, thank you, Lataba, very good. Who would like to unmute and explain to me? Abigail, did you get discrete?
Sir,
Yeah.
I would say it could be either or, because one person can say, this person ran 1 kilometer, and then another person can say that no, she ran 1 kilometer and like have decimals into it. So it could be one or the other.
Yes. Now you have an argument there. You do have a point. All right. So when you ask the question, how far or what was the distance covered during the race? We all know that races are limited to integers or whole numbers, like a 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer, 42 kilometer. All right. So that's why some people will say discrete, because they'll say you only run a race that covers a whole number of kilometers. Okay. So that's why people will say discrete. Fair enough. I understand that. But if you measure something, if you're going to be able to measure it with a ruler, like distance, and you could get a decimal, if you took exactly where the person started and exactly where they end, I don't think there will ever be a time where the person and they could measure exactly 5 kilometers. It might be 5,001. Might be millimeters there. All right, there's a possibility there could be decimals. And because you are measuring it, I would say it's continuous. But I understand why people would say it's discrete, because we often refer to races, with discrete values. So yes, Abigail, very good. I think it could be either or, depending on how you ask the question. If you have a multiple choice and your options are 5 kilometers, how far did you run? 5, 10, or 20? Those are discrete numbers. They're discrete values. Okay, so that'll give you discrete data. But if you're ever measuring a distance, any distance, how far did you walk? How far did you drive? How far did it take you to walk from your maths class to your science class? That is also a similar type of question, and that will always be continuous. Okay, so I think we need to group that into the same kind of question. But if your question only gives you discrete answers, you're only going to get discrete answers. All right, last one here, we're going to wrap up for tonight. Number of days worked should be nice and easy. Number of days worked. Ah, there we go. Good job. All right. Again, some people could argue, sir, time can also be measured with decimals. Yes, true. But in this case here, number of days worked. How many days did you work? Depending on how you present the question, but I would say you're probably going to get discrete values as answers. But these last two here, people can argue. All right, people can argue these two, whether it's discrete or continuous. All right, but I would say discrete. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was a more theory-based lesson. On Thursday, we're going to start doing some calculations that definitely will be in your, or could be in your exam.